Hello everyone, my name is Rajni Jha. Welcome to Drishti IAS. So this is the last part, the third part of chapter 5th, class 9th, Polity, NCERT. We are already done with the two more parts earlier, and if you haven't watched those videos, please go ahead and watch those videos after this session. Alright, so before we start, can you tell me if I'm audible and visible to all of you? Could you confirm? Hello Tejaswini. Yes. Ananya, yes, good evening. So I'm assuming that I'm audible and visible to all of you. There is no problem in the audio or video. Great. So before we move ahead with today's session, there were two questions that I saw in previous session in the comment section. First of all, a lot of you have answered about the question that I asked you, which was regarding preventive detention, and I'm really glad about it. I'm so glad that you guys are interacting now. So that is great. Yes, good evening everyone. Great. All right. So there were two questions specifically that were asked. Let me just clarify them for you first. The first question is, ma'am, you said we have the right to move freely throughout India, but what about the temples? People are charged in many places to enter in temples, and even there are separate chambers for darshan. Can we fight there? Okay. Also, why are we not allowed to enter Garbhagriha or Garbhagriha? If each and every one of us is equal, then it is the right of each one of us to take darshan of our deity. All right. Very well, great question. I was hoping somebody would ask this. See, yes, you have the right to move freely throughout the territory of India, but at the same time, how a religion manages its religious affairs and institutions is given in article, we will talk about it right now, the freedom of religion, which is from article 25 to 28. We haven't talked about it yet. We are going to cover that in today's session. Now see, Constitution says that you have the right to move freely throughout the territory of India, but that does not give you unrestricted right to enter temples or unrestricted right to enter every part of a temple, because that comes under the fundamental right of a particular religion to manage their own religious affairs. Now, the thing about fundamental rights, or any right for that matter, is you have the rights, yes, but your rights stop right where somebody else's rights start. You understand what I'm trying to say? If I am saying that you have a fundamental right to move freely throughout India, you have that right, but you cannot use that right to violate somebody else's right. And we have a fundamental right where we give them freedom of religion, where the institutions, the religious institutions can practice their religion however they want. That comes in under their administration. This is why they can charge fees if they want to, and they can manage the temples or any religious affairs any way they seem fit. However, if ever it feels like there is a human dignity at play in any religious affairs, then Supreme Court jumps in. For example, there was the instant triple talaq case. In that case, yes, the class is regular. Okay, so there are many of you who are new here, and I think you don't know about it. So we have our classes from Monday to Friday, every day on YouTube, 6 p.m. sharp. So yes, the classes are regular. There was another question that was asked. Let me just clarify that as well for you. One second. Yes. So there was another question that was asked, and the question is, we can't settle in northeast regions, but if we have government jobs, then we can do the jobs, but we don't have the right to settle there forever. Why is it so? Also, we have a right to give service, but we don't have the right to own a land there. All right. So see, the answer to this is yes. This is a general rule that you can move to any part of the country, but at the same time, the states can make specific provisions if they want to preserve the tribal areas, if they want to preserve the forest areas. And you know, in Northeast, there are a lot of tribal areas and they are protected in our constitution. So the movement can be restricted to protect those tribal areas, the scheduled tribes, right? So like I said, most of your questions are very valid, and yes, I think I was expecting a lot of you to ask such questions. So your right, you have the right, but your right stops right where somebody else's right starts. Your right does not mean you can violate somebody else's right. This is why it has to be a balance of everything. I hope that is clear to all of you. Yes, great. Upload the recorded classes. Beta, these classes are available on YouTube. If you go and watch the playlist, there's an NCERT playlist on YouTube on the English Drishti IAS English channel, and you will find the playlist there, and all the classes are there. Okay, great. All right, so let's get started with today's session then. Without further ado, 1 second. Let me just adjust your comments. All right, so this is the last part of our 5th chapter. We have already covered what are rights, why do we need them in a democracy. We were done with Article 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 also we were done. We were done with Article 19 as well. For those of you who haven't watched those videos, please go ahead and watch those videos right after this class, because that is very important. Of course, there are a lot of rights that we have already covered. We were done with Article 20 as well, and I think we were discussing Article 21, which is protection of life and personal liberty. Now, please hold on to your questions. Like I said, see, you're talking about VIP darshan, it's the same thing. The religious institutions can manage religious affairs however they seem fit, unless somebody makes a claim that their right is being violated and they go to the Supreme Court for the same. Like we will talk about Article 32 also in today's session, where you are given the right to approach Supreme Court if you think your fundamental right is violated. So unless somebody makes an issue about it and somebody makes a claim that their right is being violated and they should approach Supreme Court for that, then Supreme Court can interpret it. But until then, every religious institution has the right to manage their religious affairs however they seem fit. We'll see that in Article 25 to 28 now. Okay, so we have Article 21, that is right to life and personal liberty. Please hold on to your questions. I'll answer them after some time. Let's just study a bit. Ma'am, can we prepare for UPSC in college? Yes, you can. And what you can do is, in the first and second year, in fact, focus on the basics. Focus on building strong foundation through NCERTs, through previous year questions. Focus on building concepts so that when you move ahead to the actual advanced books, you really understand without feeling overstimulated, without giving up your preparation. So yes, you can start preparing. Just see that you are enjoying college as well. You are just focused on building the basic foundational concepts in the first year, because anyway you will be able to take the exam after 3 years or 4 years, meaning after you are graduated. Yes, 32 is the soul of the Constitution. We'll talk about that, don't worry. Okay, so Article 21 talks about protection of life and personal liberty. What does that mean? That state cannot deprive anyone of his life and liberty except when according to procedure established by law. I think we discussed this yesterday. Can anybody confirm? Did we discuss this yesterday? Because I can remember I talked about procedure established by law. Yes, beta, please hold on to your questions. I'll answer them after we are done studying. Okay. Can somebody confirm? Are we done with this? I think I did talk about procedure established by law. Let me just quickly recap it. So I said that now Parliament can make a law, and if the procedure is followed properly, in that case, it will be considered valid. That was the earlier interpretation of this established by law. But then Supreme Court later in the Menaka Gandhi versus Union of India case said that if that is the case, Parliament can make unfair law as well. And if the procedure is properly followed, that will also come under this. So, but that is wrong. The law cannot be unfair. So the interpretation of this part of this particular article was widened in Menaka Gandhi case, where the Supreme Court said that law made should also be fair and reasonable and just, and then the proper procedure should be followed. Okay, I think we did this yesterday. Now there is one part in it which is 86th Constitutional Amendment Act. Can somebody tell me what is there in 86th Constitutional Amendment Act that was added in Article 21? What was added in Article 21 after 86th Constitutional Amendment Act? Yes. Yeah, see, Article 21 is a composite right. In Article 21, if you're talking about right to life, dignified life, it encompasses so many different rights. So, of course, we cannot go in depth here, but you said right to privacy is there. There are so many rights which are there in this Article 21, and Supreme Court keeps widening its scope as and when the verdict comes. For now, the question is, in Article 21, there was something added. in 86th Constitutional Amendment Act. Very good, Ananya. Yes, Ananya, while Suze Echo, Denu. Okay. So I hope the rest of you also know this, because this is very basic. You should know. In 86th Constitutional Amendment Act, right to education was added. In 86th Constitutional Amendment Act, right to education was added, that the state shall provide free and compulsory education to kids between 6 and 14 years of age. To children aged 6 and 14 years of age, right. Universalization in elementary education, 6 to 14 years, free and compulsory education. Yes, very good. So we are done with Article 21. This is where we had to start. Now, Article 22 talks about protection against arrest and detention. Now, what was the purpose of this article? The purpose was to stop arbitrary detention or arbitrary arrest. Now, let's say that police just arrested somebody illegally or in an unlawful manner, and the police did not even say what was the reason that the other person was being arrested. So, to avoid such cases, this article is provided, Article 22, to protect people from arbitrary arrest and detention by the government. Is there any exception to this article? Can somebody tell me? Is there any exception to this article? Okay. First of all, there are some rights that are given to the arrested person. What are the rights that are given to the arrested person? Even if they are arrested, they should know what are the grounds of arrest. Why are they being arrested? That they should know. They should be told. What are the grounds of arrest? Second, they have the right to defend themselves by a lawyer. So they'll get free legal aid. They will have the right to consult and be defended by a lawyer. During emergency, yes, we will talk. No, beta, it is not Article 21 and 22. It is something else. So they have the right for free legal aid. That is their second right here, right in the Article 22. And then they must be, not just should, they must be produced before magistrate within 24 hours of being arrested. So these are the three safeguards that are provided in Article 22. So even if you are arresting somebody, you have to tell them why are you arresting them. Second, they have the right to free legal aid, that they can be defended by a lawyer. They have the right to consult and be defended by a lawyer. And the third is they must be produced before magistrate within 24 hours. Now, there is one exception to this, which is preventive detention. This was the question that I asked you yesterday. Preventive detention, and most of you, in fact, all of you have answered it correctly. What is preventive detention? Preventive detention is when you're arresting somebody so that they don't commit a crime, in order for you to prevent them from committing a crime. Let's say the Intelligence Bureau gave solid information that this person can carry out a terrorist activity. In that case, the police doesn't have to stop. The police don't have to stop and wait until the person actually carries out the terrorist activity. The police can simply arrest that person because they have got the information from Intelligence Bureau, right? So that is preventive detention. Preventive detention is you are arrested before you have committed a crime to prevent you from committing a crime. The other one that we were talking about was punitive detention. Punitive detention is you have already committed a crime and now I want to punish you, which is why I will be arresting you. So punitive happens because you have already committed a crime and you will be punished. Preventive happens because you can commit a crime, there is a suspicion, and based on that suspicion, you will be arrested for the police to stop you from committing a crime. Is that clear? Yes, please. There are some new students. For all of you who are new here, we have our daily live session from Monday to Friday at 6 p.m. sharp, and we are covering new NCERTs here. And we are focusing on building basic concepts and foundation for UPSC preparation. So please be on time. It is always 6 p.m. I always start the class at 6 p.m. Okay, is it clear to everyone? Ma'am, preventive detention examples are seen in Crime Patrol episodes. You should be watching better shows, beta. Okay. Next right that we have is Article 23, which is right against exploitation. Now, Article 23 and 24, students keep getting confused in them, but don't worry, I'll explain them to you. So in 23, it's basically you cannot exploit another human being. Now, exploitation can happen because, first, because of human trafficking. In human trafficking, human beings are bought and sold like products, right? They are bought and sold like products. So human trafficking is exploitation of human that cannot be done. Second, forced labor or bonded labor without payment, that is also prohibited, and any other form of forced labor is also prohibited in Article 23. Now this includes adults and child, everyone. You cannot force somebody to work for you without paying them. So all of that comes under exploitation, and people have right against exploitation. So Article 23 protects everybody, including adults and children, from being exploited. Now, if I talk about Article 24, Article 24 specially talks about child labor. See, we talked about labor in Article 23 as well, but 24 specially talks about child labor, that children are protected from hazardous work or child labor. For no child below 14 years of age can be forced to work in any area that is not safe, that is hazardous. So that can be factories, mines, or any other hazardous occupation, right? So when we talk about 23, in 23 also that will be covered. Don't you think so? If I am saying that I cannot force somebody to work, then here also if children are forced to work, that will be prohibited. But here, even if they are not being forced to work, if children are working in factories, mines, or any hazardous occupation and their age is less than below 14 years of age, that is prohibited under Article 24. Is it clear to everyone? Well, for now, the better shows for you are the books. You should be watching documentaries related to them, maybe historical documentaries, so that you can develop interest in these subjects specifically, and read books as much as you can. Okay, is it clear to everyone? Article 23 and 24. Now see, now the question is, in Article 23, I said that every individual has right against exploitation, right? So my question to you is it only against government? Is it only against government? For example, only the state should not be exploiting human beings. Is it so? Or it can be against anyone, private individuals, private companies as well. Yes. Yes, of course. No, don't watch any reels. Study books. That's it. So this is not against only government. This is for private industries, private corporations, private individuals as well. Now see, if you say there are still children who are working there, like I told you in the previous sessions, that there are always loopholes and people tend to take advantage of the loopholes, but that's not allowed. Okay. Next is Article 25. Now 25 to 28, this is what I was talking about at the beginning of this lecture. This is freedom of religion. Now 25 talks about the freedom to profess, practice and propagate any religion, your religion. 26 talks about managing religious affairs. 27 talks about the fact that there can be no religious tax. I'll explain these to you in short. And 28 talks about the fact that religious instructions in educational institutions. It talks about religious instructions in educational institutions. So from 25 to 28, yes, please hold on to your questions. From 25 to 28, specifically, they are related to the freedom of religion. Now here, any religious institution can manage their religious affairs however they seem fit. You have the freedom to practice any religion, to propagate that. You cannot do forced conversion, however. See, the moment you're forcing somebody to do something, that becomes against their fundamental right. So there cannot be anything of forceful nature, but otherwise you have the freedom to profess, practice and propagate your own religion, to manage your religious affairs however you seem fit, to manage religious institutions however you seem fit. That comes under Article 25 to 28 in the freedom of religion. Is it clear to everyone? Do you have any questions here? And there are new students. I'll just make an announcement for you again. For those of you who are new, we have our live session every day at 6 p.m. sharp from Monday to Friday. And we are covering NCERTs, new NCERTs, and we try to build strong foundation for our examination. Yes, is it clear to everyone? Now see, I cannot go in depth in every article. Reason being, A, most of what I've taught you in the last 3 classes is not given in NCERT. And we are trying to stick to NCERT. And B, this will keep continuing if I keep teaching every article in detail. So, Article 25, in short, says you can follow your religion, right? You can follow your religion because you have the right to profess, practice and propagate your religion. Meaning you can talk about your religion, you can practice your religion and you can spread your religion. That is profess, practice and propagate. Now, this is the religious groups can manage themselves however they seem fit. For any religion, there will be no tax. It's not like you belong to a specific religion and the people from this religion have to pay a tax. For example, in history, you must have read jizya tax, right? But here, there are no taxes for any religion whatsoever. And there is no forced religious education in state institutions. This talks about the fact that in state institutions or state schools, whichever school or institution are managed by states, you cannot force somebody for any religious instruction. That's what it means. Yes. All right, great. Let's move on. PDFs, yes, I keep forgetting about PDFs. Can any one of you text in the comment section about PDF? I will, because I always go through your comment section, then I will remember to ask about the PDF. After the class, not in the live chat. After the class is done, in the comment section, you have to text. See, live chats, I'm not able to see everyone's chat, for example. But in comment section, I read everyone's comments. So just write there, okay? That I made, PMT is, I made a shortcut to remember from 25 to 28. So PMT, you know, for medical, there is PMT exam, right? So that's how I made it so that I can remember. You can also use it. For example, earlier there was AIPMT, if you know, for medical exams, right? Now it is NEET. So PMT is, P stands for profess, practice and propagate. M stands for managing religious affair. T stands for tax, there will be no religious tax. And E stands for educational institutions. So I made it because I told you in the last class that sometimes what they do is they simply write, this is article 25, this is article 28, this is 30, and here they give the explanation, you have to match them. So you have to remember at least the fundamental rights, and you can make any mnemonic that you want to. Okay, great. Is there ending time? I did not understand your question, beta. Is there an ending time or does it go on forever? You have to be a bit more specific about the question. I did not understand it. Yes, so article 25 to 28 is PMTE. 25, 26, 27, 28. Moving on. Next is article 29 and 30. 29 is cultural and educational rights. These 29 and 30 is cultural and educational rights. Now, what is article 29 and article 30? Article 29 talks about protection of culture and article 30 talks about educational rights for minorities. Now, see, there is a very important point here that you should be remembering, and I'll tell you about these two articles first. You tell me, I use the word minorities, right? Is the word minority or who is a minority explained or defined in our constitution? Is the word minority defined in our constitution? E is education. Here, E is education. From E, you will remember educational institution. Basically, it says that in any educational institution, maybe it's college, it's school, which is government college, government school specifically, nobody can be forced to follow a religious instruction. They should not be forced. They should not be given religious instructions by force, right? So it is not compulsory that you will be giving religious instruction, that you will be talking about a particular religion. You will be giving them instructions in a particular religion. That is not allowed. You can do it, but it cannot be forceful because it's still happening. Okay, so yes, the word minority, is it given in our constitution? Lesser in number. Lesser in number. I still did not ask. I still did not understand. Maybe asking about the session. The class usually is of 40-45 minutes. It is ideally 40-45 minutes. We end up extending it by 5-10 minutes sometimes. Okay. Yes, very good. The word minority is not defined in our constitution anywhere. So now let's talk about 29. 29 talks about the fact that you have the right to protect your culture. What is that? What is culture? If I ask you, what is culture? What would you respond? In GS, you have Indian society, right? Social issues. So if you are asked what is culture, how would you define it? What is culture? No, the word is given. It is not defined. Just like untouchability, I told you, the word is given that there has to be abolition of untouchability. But the word untouchability is not defined in the constitution. Through the court's verdicts, we get to know what actually they mean by untouchability, but it is not defined. So if a statement is given in your prelims question paper that untouchability is defined in our constitution, no. Minority is defined in our constitution, no. It is not defined. And whatever is not defined, we get to know about them through court verdicts later. Okay. Minority generally recognized according to... No, my question is, one's own way to live life. Very close, very good, yes. Utkarsh, beta, I think I missed your comment. Could you write your question again? So culture is a way of life. If you have to answer, in short, you'll say culture is a way of life. Now that will include language, script, and how you live, everything. So when we talk about protection of culture, we talk about the fact that you have the right to protect your language or script or culture of any section of the society, right? And this is available to every section, not just for minorities. Now you have to remember, I have combined these two and written here, but culture, this is given to everyone. Every individual has the right to protect their culture. This is for everyone. This educational right is for minorities especially. Okay. So conservation of language and culture. Communities may preserve their language, script, tradition. This is given for everyone. That is protection of their culture. And when we talk about educational right, it is specially for minority, that is religious and linguistic minorities have the right to establish educational institution. Which, what did I say? Religious, must be written here also. Religious and linguistic minority. Basically, these are, if there are people from a specific religion which are very less in number, or specific people from a specific community that speak a particular language and they are very less in number. So religious and linguistic minorities have the right to establish their educational institution where they can talk about their religion, where they can use their own language, and also how they want to manage it, that is also dependent on them. Now I cannot say, oh, you should not be managing it like this, or you should be giving this much reservation to a particular caste. I cannot say that. Why? Because this is specifically made for specific minorities, specific religious and linguistic minorities. You get it? So from every article, one thing is common, and that is you have all the rights, but your rights stop right where somebody else's rights start. So we have seen how reservation is given in every institution, whether it is government aided or normal private institution. But in religious or in minority institution, I cannot force them to give reservation to a specific community or specific section, because this is for a specific section itself. Is it clear? Ma'am, can I start Lakshmikant or I should start? It will be better that you wait for some time. You can start Lakshmikant from, you can start the chapters that we have already studied, although it's just 9th standard and we haven't gone in a lot depth. And in Lakshmikant, you might find a bit in depth, although I try to cover as much as possible. But whatever we have already studied, you can just try to read those chapters from Lakshmikant. That you can do. At least give it a read. I'm sure you will understand most of it after my class. I can assure you that. Okay, is it clear? So here a Christian community, how it chooses to manage a Christian school or Christian institution is on them. I cannot force them to give reservation to some other community. Got it? So how they protecting the culture is for everyone. Every citizen has this right. For educational right, it is specially for minorities, religious and linguistic minorities, and how they manage to, how they decide to manage the institution is on them. I cannot force them to do whatever is there for the rest of the society or for the rest of the sections. I hope it is clear to everyone. Great. Now, yes, those of you who have already studied the last 4 or 5 chapters, I think 4 or 5 classes we have studied together, those specific chapters you can study from Lakshmikant as well. Once you start reading from Lakshmikant, you realize whatever I have taught you has made the concept already very clear. Maybe do not start a new chapter, but whatever we have studied together, you can start those. Okay? Alright, next is Article 32, the most important article of all the articles, the most important fundamental right of all the articles, and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar called it the heart and soul of the Constitution. Why is that so? See, try to understand, I told you in earlier sessions that fundamental rights are given as a protection, as a safeguard against government becoming arbitrary. So these are the rights that have been given to you, and Why? Because it is a safeguard. Government cannot take them away from you, and government cannot do whatever it wants arbitrarily, except the government can take fundamental rights when there is national emergency, and in that also Article 20 and 21 cannot be taken away. After 44th Constitutional Amendment Act, this was made a change. I will tell you about this also. It must be somewhere in the slides. Okay, so fundamental rights in themselves are like safeguards for you. They are like protection for you from the state, right? And Article 32 protects those fundamental rights also, because try to understand, let's say I give you a lot of rights. I am a state, right? People made constitution, they give you a lot of rights, but there is no way to enforce them. If somebody violates your rights, then what? If there is no way to enforce them, those are not rights, those are simply promises. I even took a lecture today on Article 32. You will find that on YouTube itself, on Drishti IAS English channel. Article 32, go through that chapter. You will understand it much more in depth. So if I do not give you a way to enforce your rights are simply promises that I made, which I can break at any point, right? So Article 32 acts as a protector of protectors. These fundamental rights are protectors. These fundamental rights provide protection to you against the state, and Article 32 protects all of these, because if they are violated, then you can go to Supreme Court directly, right? So it is a fundamental right, yes, and Supreme Court can issue 5 writs. Supreme Court can issue 5 writs to enforce the fundamental rights. Now, I'm not going in detail in all these writs. I've already covered the lecture today itself. Please go ahead and watch that video, because in NCERT anyway it is not given in depth. So what are writs? Writs are written declaration, written assurances, written verdicts. You can call whatever you want. So these are written statements given by the court to a specific organization or person who has maybe violated your fundamental right, or to stop them from doing something, to make them do something or stop them from doing something. That are writs. So Supreme Court can issue 5 writs to protect the rights and to follow the law, to make others follow the law, and these are those writs: habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, certiorari, and quo warranto. And these are covered under Article 32. Now, can High Court also give these writs? Can High Court also issue writs for fundamental rights? Yes. Can High Court also issue writs on fundamental rights? Beta, you're asking, okay, Uniform Civil Code, will it violate Islamic culture? Uniform Civil Code, the arguments that are given in the favor of it show that it does not violate any culture for that matter. And for that also I have made a video, and it is there on Drishti IAS English channel. Please go ahead and study that, because whenever I make a topic specific video, I try to cover as much as possible. And here that may not be possible, because in NCERT it is not given. Very good. Yes. While sues eco. Okay. You have said Article 226. Yes. See, the writs can be issued by Supreme Court under Article 32, but writs can also be issued by High Court. They can also be issued by High Court under Article 226. What is the basic difference between writs issued by Supreme Court under 32 and High Court under 226? The basic difference is Supreme Court can only issue writs for the violation of fundamental rights, whereas High Courts can issue writs for the violation of fundamental rights and also legal rights, not just fundamental rights. So in this way, this is a little broader than Article 32. That is a basic difference. Now, of course, this strengthens judicial review. Why? What is judicial review? Judicial review allows Supreme Court to strike down any law that is unconstitutional, right? To protect people from any unconstitutional arbitrary law. And that's what we are doing here also when it comes to fundamental rights. So it, in a way, broadens the horizons of judicial review. It helps judicial review. Yes. Okay. So you're saying that the horizon is wider, right? So High Court has more power to give writs, because it can give writs, it can issue writs in fundamental rights violation as well as legal rights violation. But still we only talk about Article 32. Why Article 32 is considered so important? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar did not say that Article 226 is the heart and soul of Constitution. He said Article 32 is the heart and soul of Constitution, whereas in 226, writs can be issued for both, for fundamental rights violation and for legal rights violation also. So why is 32 considered so important? Yes. Because Article 32 itself is a fundamental right. That is why it gets more importance. Article 226 is not a fundamental right. Article 32 itself is a fundamental right and it protects other fundamental rights. That's why it's given so much importance. Okay? Great. Next we have PIL, public interest litigation. See, PIL allows, I'm sure you must have come across so many news these days where PIL is filed. So PIL is public interest litigation. Somebody is filing a case for the public, for the interest of public. So any citizen or organization can file PIL, can approach court in matters affecting public interest. So sometimes what happens is, like we talked about the fact that bonded labor is not allowed in our constitution. But in some places that keeps happening, and the labor that's working, the labor does not know his or her rights. So what will happen in that case, if somebody finds that there is a particular community, particular section where it is happening, they can approach the Supreme Court. Somebody else can approach the Supreme Court saying that the rights of these laborers is being violated. The rights of these laborers are being violated, and that is why we are filing PIL. So sometimes when people do not know their rights, or they don't feel like getting into all of this, because most of us are not very comfortable with courts. We keep saying, oh, who will go to the court? Let's see, whatever happens, happens, right? But this is why we have the option of PIL. Anybody can go and approach the court if something in the public interest is being affected, if the rights of public is being affected. Okay, even a postcard to the court may initiate PIL if judges consider the matter important. So somebody doesn't have to be present there. They can simply send the postcard, and if the Supreme Court or the court thinks that this is an important issue and it should be taken up, they can simply take up that issue. That is PIL. All right. Next, we have prelims question and we also have mains practice question. Like I promised, at the end of the chapter, I will give you both. Yes. So the first question, you'll answer these questions. Let's quickly see what the questions are. Consider the following statements regarding fundamental rights. First, originally the right to property was a fundamental right. Second, after 44th Constitutional Amendment Act, the right to property became a constitutional right under Article 300A. And third, the right to property can now be enforced under Article 32. Very good question. Please read and tell me what is the answer. And also you have to give the explanation. I'm looking at your questions also, don't worry. We'll talk about them. First answer this question, then we'll talk about your question. You answer my question first. Yes. Okay, I want all of you to answer this question with explanation. That if you say first is wrong, why is it wrong? If you say second is wrong, why is it wrong? If you say any of them is true, why is it true? You have to answer this question with explanation in the comment section. I will talk about it tomorrow. It's a very good question. A little tricky, which is why I'm giving it to you as homework. So with explanation, I want in the comment section, not in the live chat, in the comment section. Okay. Next, we can do this. This is pretty easy. With reference to Article 14, consider the following statements. Equality before law means no person is above the law. Equal protection of laws permits reasonable classification, and reservation violates Article 14 because it treats different groups differently. Here, I don't need explanation. This is a very simple, easy question. I just want the answer. I just want the answer of this question. This is question number 2. Please write down question number 2 and then answer. Option number A is 1 only, B is 1 and 2, C is 2 and 3, and D is 1, 2 and 3. What will be the answer? I also have to look at your options, the answers that you have given. I hope the question is visible to all of you. Yes. Great. All right. No, see, somebody is answering about this 300A. You don't have to answer it here. You have to answer that in the comment section with explanation. Now, about this question, equality before law means no person is above the law. If you remember, we've talked about Article 14, that there are 2 expressions in Article 14. The first expression is equality before law, which simply means no one is above the law. So, this is right. Second, equal protection of laws is the second expression in Article 14, which talks about the fact that like should be treated alike. So you can differentiate groups. There can be reasonable classification. That's what we studied. So this is also right. Reservation violates Article 14 because it treats different groups differently. If you remember, the day before yesterday, I gave you this question where I said, what do you think about reservation? Because Article 14 allows it. So what do you think about it? And many of you answered it. So of course, this is wrong. It does not violate Article 14. In fact, Article 14 gives the foundation for it. So this is wrong, and answer would be 1 and 2, and most of you have answered that, which is absolutely right. I'm very glad. You know, it feels great when you guys answer correctly, because then I feel like maybe what I was trying to explain in the entire lecture was clear to all of you. Okay, next question. Next is our mains practice question. Now, just like the previous class where I gave you a mains practice question and I told you to write the framework in the comment section, I expect all of you to write the framework in the comment section here as well. Now see, why I have started this practice is because when I tell you beforehand, you're not using your brain, you're not using your critical thinking to come up with an answer. In tomorrow's session, first I will discuss that prelims question, then I will give you the framework of this question as well, but I want all of you to answer in the comment section. I'll go through them, I'll see how you're improving. So I think one of you asked me how we can stay connected. This is how we can stay connected. I personally look through your answers. So please write the framework there. That way, A, you will feel responsible for your own growth as well, and I will be keeping an eye on you, right? So the question says, fundamental rights are not merely individual freedoms, but constitutional safeguards that preserve democracy, ensure social justice, and protect human dignity. Fairly easy question. If you have done answer writing with me earlier, you can easily guess what should be there in the introduction, what should be there in body, what should be there in the conclusion. Have I given this question to you earlier? I can't remember if I have given this question or not. Anyway, please write the framework of this question in the comment section, and I will discuss this tomorrow. Now, if you have any question, I will be teaching geography as well once we are done with polity. I think this was class 9th. Yes, this was class 9th polity, and we are done with it. This was the last chapter. Tomorrow we'll start with class 10th polity. Then we'll talk about class 11th polity. Once we are done with that, we'll start with geography. Yes, if you have any questions, please ask them in the live chat, and I'll answer them. For those of you who are new here, please make sure that you are here on YouTube every day 6 p.m. We have our sessions at 6 p.m. every day from Monday to Friday. We are covering new NCERTs, and we're focusing on concept building, the foundation. So yes, thank you so much, Garg Win. Okay, why don't you guys use your real name? I would love to know your real name. Yes, one of you said, ma'am, I get confused about writs. Please give me tricks to remember them. I told you I have just taken a session today. Go to the videos in Drishti IAS English channel. There you'll find Article 32. I have given trick also to remember the writs, so that you don't get confused between what is habeas corpus, what is mandamus, what is prohibition or certiorari or quo warranto. I have explained it using some tricks also, so you will remember them once you go through the lecture. Please do watch that lecture. If someone is in government job and works in shifts, see, first of all, if you have decided to sit for the exam, it is very easy and achievable. Everything is achievable. You just need to figure out what time suits you. Do not go by anyone else's routine. I'm not saying that you have to do it, but if you have decided, give it your 100%, and anything is possible. You just have to figure out what timetable suits you. Do not start looking up what others are following. Somebody is waking up at 5 o'clock, so you should have to wake up at 5 o'clock to clear the exam. No, that's not how it works. Figure out what suits you. You just need to work really well on your basics, then build on the advanced material, read the advanced material, and you should be able to do that with the help of PYQs and practice sessions. That's it. All right, great. Thank you so much, Piyush. That's it for today's session. I hope you enjoyed the lecture, and I am hoping to see the answers of both the questions, the prelims practice question and this mains answer writing framework, in the comment section after we are done with this class, not in the live chat. So that's it for today's session. Thank you so much for joining in. I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, take care.